Dating after limerence is different. It's not just, okay, I'm over them, time to get back out there. Because once your brain has shown that it can obsess and idealize and make a whole future out of a person who wasn't fully available or that you couldn't actually bond to in a real way, you don't really get to pretend that you're a neutral dater anymore. There are those of us who become limerent, and then there are those of us who don't. So this video is your safety plan. We're going to look at two things to watch in you, the stuff that your mind does that pulls you out of reality, and two things to watch in them, the patterns in other people that limerence-prone people tend to romanticize. The goal here isn't to make you paranoid or to make you super guarded so that you can't meet anyone or bond with anyone. The goal is to help you date at the speed of reality instead of at the speed of fantasy. Hi, I'm Madalena, and this is You Reclaimed. Around here, we spend a lot of time talking about how we reclaim our lives back from the grips of childhood trauma, from emotional dysregulation, and from anxiety. And we do this ongoing exercise because we want to live our lives on our own terms. I hope you stick around. Before we get into it, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any future videos. And if you're finding this content helpful, please give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. So first, let's talk about things to watch for in yourself. Number one, your fantasy building. Let me start this part off with a scenario. Lisa has been dating Mark for about 2 months. They see each other once a week because Mark is busy, he has a lot of stuff going on with work, he has a small child, he's changing houses or he's about to. His schedule is a bit intense, so once a week is the best he can do right now. Somewhere in the middle of that, Mark mentions to Lisa that he's looking for a new bungalow and it happens to be in the same area that she currently lives in. And in Lisa's mind, this quickly turns into, we're getting a place together. She's picturing what the living room will look like. She's already scrolling for furniture. She's thinking about how nice it's going to be to finally have someone to come home to at the end of her days. Maybe they'll do a little housewarming with friends. But here's the important part. Mark has never said, I want you to move in with me. Not once. What he has said is stuff like, I really like where this is going. You're such a steady person to have in my life. I'm really enjoying getting to know you. Very warm, very open, very much dating energy, but not come live with me. So what's happening? Lisa is building a fantasy. That's where we take potential and we treat it like evidence of what's happening. It's when we attach our longing to someone else's completely neutral life updates or statements, and people who've been limerent do this a lot because in limerence, we have a tendency to live in the future version of the relationship. We live in what this thing could become. We live in the imagined intimacy sometimes, in imagined commitment, in imagined daily life with this other person. And we start, this is the most important part, we start relating to that version of reality as if that version is more real than what's here in the present moment. And also as if that future reality is mutual. The problem with this is that once you start relating to your fantasy as if it's the other person's intention, you stop vetting the real person in front of you. You stop asking, is this person acting through their actions as though they are available and interested? Are they making room for me in their life? Very important. Do they attempt to progress things forward? Do they want a full committal partner right now? And in this way, we start defending the fantasy instead of observing the person in front of us. Your safety plan here is really simple. If it hasn't been said, it has not been agreed to. If it hasn't been a direct invitation, it is not happening yet. It may happen in the future, but it's not there yet. And if you hear yourself saying things like, well, I think that's what he meant, that's your cue to slow things down, because that's fantasy talking. Dating after limerence means that you don't let your imagination outrun and outpace the actual relationship data right in front of you. You can enjoy the connection. You can hope for what's to come. Hope is wonderful and energizing and exciting, but you do not build a whole house on a sentence that was really just small talk or casual conversation. A second thing to look for in yourself is your own tolerance for ambiguity. This one is a little unpopular because a lot of us right now are obsessed with the idea of staying open and not labeling things too soon and letting things flow where they want to flow. And listen, if you're totally secure, that's fine. Maybe you can float for a little while. But if you know already that you are someone whose nervous system locks onto uncertainty like a death grip, if you know that you spin out when you don't know where you stand, then this kind of vibes-only dating is not cute for you. It's expensive. Here's what's actually true. People who want to build something real with you do have goals. They may express those goals casually. They might be more modern and flexible, but they are still thinking in terms of, do I want a partner? Do I want this to keep growing and moving forward? Do our lives actually seem like they might fit together? Those things don't go away just because culture says we're a little bit more free-spirited now. What happens to a lot of people coming out of limerence is that they overcorrect dramatically. They think, I don't want to be needy. I don't want to scare anyone off, because a lot of what happens in limerence feels like that. I don't want to force a label on the other person and in that way make them apprehensive about relating to me. So they tolerate this long, stretchy middle zone where nobody's defining anything. But that middle zone is exactly where your old pattern got built. Ambiguity is oxygen for obsession. So part of your safety plan here is just telling yourself the truth, which sounds like, I function better in relationships that are defined. I calm down when I know what we're doing here. That's not clinging. That's you taking care of a nervous system that has already shown you that it will make up stories if it doesn't get the clarity it needs to calm down. And there's nothing wrong with that. And also, asking for clarity is not the same thing as demanding commitment. You're not saying we need to be exclusive by Friday, or if you haven't proposed in 4 months, it's over. What you're saying is, I need to know what lane we're driving in so I don't start making up fantasies. When someone actually wants to implement relationship goals with you, they don't get offended that you want to know what you're doing here, what you're building together. Because they're likely on the same page. They also want someone they can build with. They might say, I'm not ready for X yet, but it will be clean. It won't be that sort of slippery, poetic, non-committal language that keeps you hanging on while calling it, I don't know, modern dating, let's say. So the message in this section is ambiguity might be trendy. It is not trauma-friendly. At no time is it trauma-friendly. And it is definitely not limerence friendly. So you still get to choose the dating structures that keep your nervous system regulated, not structures that make you work twice as hard not to degrade into chronic, non-stop anxiety for you. Nothing is worth that. Let's talk about some things to watch for in the other person. Most importantly, inconsistent availability or intermittent types of attention. Here's what happens a lot with people who've been limerent. The other person is spotty or vague, kind of busy, kind of in, kind of out, it's unclear. And instead of saying, okay, this is just a getting to know you kind of connection, we build this entire mythology about why they're spotty. So we'll say things like, well, his job is really demanding. Or he has a child, so his time is so limited that he can't even go on dates. He's going through a really stressful time at work. He's in the middle of a really demanding move. He's still processing his last breakup. And all of those things might be true. People do go through those things. But in Limerence, we don't just notice these things. We romanticize them. We make them complicated ourselves. And we make the other person's complicated, convoluted, slightly inhospitable life into a sign of depth. We make these life things noble. And we tell ourselves, well, when all of this settles, he'll be able to love me in the way that he clearly wants to. That's the fantasy again. Someone who will love me later the way I need to be loved is not a good plan for dating. But inconsistent attention doesn't actually need to be romanticized. It just needs to be downgraded to its rightful place. And downgrading doesn't have to mean I'll cut him off, I'll block him, I'll freak out about the way things are going, or I'll walk away dramatically. It can simply mean this is not yet a person that I can build a future with. This is someone I'm still getting to know. Perfectly reasonable. So the safety plan here sounds like this. If the effort is not increasing, if the contact is not naturally becoming more woven into real life, if I'm the one doing the emotional heavy lifting, then I, in my own mind, right, I have to keep this thing in the getting to know you zone. I don't promote the connection in my head before they promote it in real life. Because what limerence prone people do is they auto upgrade, right? We text every day and that automatically means we're basically together. Or he said he missed me, obviously we're on the way to commitment. He said his life is chaotic and we turn that into I just have to be patient and then he'll choose me. No, you don't need to make all of those concessions. You simply keep the connection where the data says it is. You only take it out of that early budding stage when it becomes obvious that the other person is trying to move it forward. More time, more presence, more planning real things, introducing you to people in their life, making space for you in their life. Until then, it's we're seeing each other. That's it. Not I found my person, not I found my soulmate, not this is my future husband. And that holding it low is actually very regulating for someone who's been limerent. Because you're not letting your brain run 5 years ahead of the actual relationship. You're letting reality lead and only following the lead of reality. The other one I really want to talk about is getting pulled in by people who love being adored and admired, but who don't actually want to build anything with you. A lot of people who trigger limerence in us will have a big charismatic sort of front. They come in fast, they mirror you, they make you feel seen, they compliment a lot of the time the parts of you that stayed unseen for most of your life growing up. And for somebody with a history of emotional chaos or of childhood trauma, that is absolutely magnetizing. Sometimes that's because they line up with an old pattern, whether they feel like dad or like mom or your first intense love. Sometimes it's because they're genuinely high charisma people. Sometimes it's a little dark triad-y. Sometimes it's just ego-driven. But the common denominator is they love the pedestal. So what do? They respond really warmly when you're enthusiastic about them. They open up just enough to make you feel special, like you've accessed something that other people don't get. They let you and even encourage you to admire them. And they keep the door perpetually open. The trouble is, a lot of the time that door doesn't lead anywhere. It's like those memes of the staircase that just goes straight into a wall. You're climbing, but there's nowhere to get to. Because they don't increase effort. They don't organize the connection into something cohesive. They don't make it safer or clearer where you're going together. And if you've experienced limerence, that kind of person will automatically feel like a soulmate. Because your system is reading the intensity, not the consistency. So this is where you have to say to yourself, is this person actually connecting with me? Or are they just enjoying seeing themselves in a really beautiful mirror and enjoying how much I like them? Because those two things are very, very different. One is mutuality, and the other is you offering an audience. And in a lot of limerence situations, you're actually auditioning for someone who just really, really likes being watched and admired. So in this particular case, the safety plan is match the other person's effort. No more, no less. Don't outperform it. Don't reward their low effort with high devotion on your own part. Notice if the compliments and the emotional intimacy are way out ahead of their actual availability to engage in a relationship with you. And be honest about your magnetism patterns, right? Say to yourself clearly, I tend to fall for intense, maybe slightly self-centered people who make me chase them. It's okay to say that out loud. It doesn't indicate a failure on your part. It just says, this is a pattern that I'm prone to, and it's better to see it than not. Because for a lot of us, the people we become limerent for are not the steady relational types. Instead, they're the shiny people, the complicated people, the people whose lives are always in transition or complicated by something or other. And sometimes, yes, the ones with darker traits. That doesn't necessarily make them evil. It just makes them a bad match for someone who's trying to heal obsessive, anxious type of bonding. Some things just don't go together. So we're not demonizing the other person. We're just looking at the dynamic straight on. And we're refusing to feed into it anymore. So that's your step-by-step safety plan for dating beyond limerence. Not rules or punishments, just a bit of structure to help you move forward in the healthiest way. If it hasn't been said, then it has not been agreed to. If the connection is not growing, you automatically keep it in the we're just getting to know each other pile. And if someone loves being adored but won't actually build with you, you simply match their effort instead of over-delivering on your part. And lastly, if ambiguity makes you spiral, you choose dating styles that give you lots of clarity. Dating after limerence is not about never feeling that spark again. That's definitely not the goal. It's about making sure that the next person you attach to is actually showing up so that you don't have to do all the work in your own imagination. You do deserve a relationship that you don't have to chase, that you don't have to over-explain or romanticize into being. When you let reality lead, the whole thing gets calmer, and you can actually tell whether you like them, not just the drama that your nervous system builds around them. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use it. It really helps this channel grow. Until next time.